There it is.
There it is.
Chef Beanz.
Yo, what's going on? Sleevacious.
Oh, man. It's kind of weird, man. I kind of want to start off with, so I've been thinking of podcasts, but I mean, I guess I can. But
right.
Look, man, look where we are, man.
No, it's definitely a blessing to be out here, bro, because, well, you know, we've always had different conversations, and as creatives, sometimes we feel as though we isolated, we by ourselves, because everybody doesn't always understand the vision.
Right.
But I think it's just beautiful to stand firm, and even not having the full picture, knowing exactly what I wanted to feel like.
What you wanted to feel.
I knew I needed it to be autonomous. I knew I needed to feel like a space that made sense to me and where I can truly operate in my full creative self. So that's why I'm extremely blessed. And I'm happy to have you out here too, of course.
Man, I'm happy to be here, man. I gotta be honest, when I even heard you wanted me to be a part of it, the first thing I thought of was like, man, I didn't even catch the first play, and I felt some type of way about that. I'm like, I didn't catch the first play, but I know I see what you're doing on social media, and it kind of brought me back to the plates.
Right.
It brought me back to the plates, and how relatable, and how it's just moving.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, man, I know we're jumping ahead, but I didn't expect to take what I took from the play. Okay,
well, I mean, we gotta tell them. They don't really know when you said came out here for it. You gotta tell them about transparency to play.
That's what we gotta do. So I've been thinking the podcast. I go by the name of Sleevacious, Sleevante, Sleevy Wonder, No Shades. We got Chef Beanz in the building.
Chef Beanz coming through with the mental cuisine. Y'all know the vibes.
Intentional consumption.
Yes.
So when we met 4 years ago. We were in Patterson.
Yes.
We were at the Art Factory, and we had a conversation. And
don't shout them out.
Huh?
Don't shout them out.
It's not a shout out, but that's location. We can bleep it out.
That's a fucking warehouse.
But we had a conversation, and you expressed about wanting to go out west.
Yes.
And again, I thought you were we kind of chuckled at it because I thought it was insane, but I knew that meant that you were different.
Yes.
And I know we had a few conversations prior to that. We did the red bottom conversation.
Yeah.
We did. We
yes,
spoke.
we did.
But when you when we had that, I felt it. I hate to throw it around because everybody throws it around freely, but that energy was different.
Right.
It was in like genuinely, and everybody says they want to go off and follow their dreams, but I'll be honest, bro. To take that travel, like you said in the interview, to take your time and do it.
Yes.
It's just different because there's so much time for you to change your mind.
Yes.
There's absolutely so much time to talk yourself out of it.
Yes.
But you didn't do that.
If there were times, so a lot of people, I document everything, literally everything. I don't know if you remember the VH1, on VH1 they used to do the behind the music. So they would tell you how these people came from different places. I remember watching like Jamie Foxx's, for example, when I found out his real name ain't Jamie Foxx, but they had all those different documents, and he, of course, grew to be this great thing. I've always been told that I was great since I was a kid. I just felt like if I'm the only one who knows this or whatever, I want to have the documentation and start now, so when the big interviews and stuff start, I have things to give them.
Now, let me stop you there, because I think that's amazing, and it needs to be highlighted, because in a lot of ways, kids aren't really supported.
Right.
At least in my experience. Not me saying that I wasn't supported, because thank God I was. But my peers, I saw a lot of my peers not having the fortune that me and some of my friends had with just the support at home.
Right.
And when you say that, I think about the Kanye doc.
Right.
And how his mom was so supportive of him and how important that is. Now he's a billionaire.
Right.
As a result of that.
Yes, absolutely.
As a direct result of that.
Absolutely.
And that's so important. And I just didn't want you to slide by that without highlighting that you knew it, and it was nurtured.
Yes.
And that's important, because it's not done as frequent as it should be, in my opinion.
Well, when I do a deep dive, when I had to literally get to know myself in isolation, the questions I would ask myself often, whether I was discouraged or anything, how did I get here? And part of that was being poured into as a youth. And on top of that, me understanding that, knowing that, and having the confidence. So back to that road trip, when I was, what am I even driving into? Do I even got a solid place to stay at?
Like
you
don't even know what you're getting into.
Just driving, but I felt this pull, and that pull was my higher self pushing me to be uncomfortable, to grow into who I was supposed to be. So I'm extremely grateful for all of that, and that we even have the documentation that I knew.
It's a blessing.
I didn't know like aesthetically what it looked like, but internally I knew what I wanted it to feel like, and I think that feeling is what continuously pulled me in the direction to where we are today. So to talk about intentional consumption, helping people be intentional, not just what they physically consume, the content they consume, the conversations they have, the energy that they ingest, that's where we transition to things like transparency.
So before we go into that, let's stop there, right? So 4 years ago that conversation took place, and we got 4 shows sold out.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yes, 4
right?
sold out shows.
Sold out shows.
Yes.
And a book.
Yes.
And not to mention, you do, what's the run? Tell me about the run.
Keep It 100 Run
Keep
Club.
It 100, the Run Club.
So when I moved out here, it was challenging for me to find community. The Run Club, Keep It 100 Run Club, where I've met some genuine people who actually were from LA, because LA gets a bad rep based off of whoever is explaining it.
Right.
And I think that's due to wherever they decide to live at. But I kept my feet on the ground, went to places like Leimert Park, South Central, all these different, met some real people, and I was granted the opportunity to speak to people at the end. So when I came out here, I'm like, okay, I know I'm great. How do I let LA know I'm in town? So I would jump on open mic stages. I wrote a poem like back in the day. I literally would recite something that I wrote 10 years ago and acting like, yo, I just met a girl, you know, and I didn't get her name, but I wrote this for her. It was called Names. People love a great story.
Right.
So I use that to
They
just keep jumping on different stages and speaking to people, also inserting who Chef Beanz was, where he was from. That transitioned to me understanding one of my greatest gifts was public speaking. I need to public speak every opportunity I get and don't miss.
This is all practice.
Yes, so that's where the end of the Run Club. Anybody got anything to say? People promoting their businesses and things like that. I'm like, something came across my mind, and I realized that if you don't tie your shoes all the time, you might trip and scrape your knee. Now that scab on your knee is a reflection of certain things that we have to heal from, but we can't just pick the scab off. We got to find time to let it heal, whether that's Neosporin or what grandma would say, Vaseline. But we got to be patient.
I get it.
And then walk on. So people will be scratching their head, but they didn't know they needed that. And as I kept leaning into that, I'm like, bro, just keep leaning into what makes sense to you. So the sold out play is a reflection of the healthy relationship that I developed with myself, the things that I had to unlearn in the direction that I know I'm going.
So do you think that nurturing from the beginning and your drive, your passion brought you out here, and like I said, the 4 sold out showcases, the book, the networking with the Run Club, do you think that all that played a major role in that? Do you think that, because I'm talking about, now let's be honest, we're speaking from when we had the conversation 4 years ago,
Yes.
and we're speaking about where we are today.
Yes.
I ain't talking about none of that in the middle.
Right.
And that's super important too.
Absolutely.
But I love to highlight where we are today and where we begin.
Yeah.
Because like I introduced years ago was the third base concept.
Yes.
Where, you know, when you make it to third base, you're close to home. But you don't take time to appreciate your position.
Right.
You could be a first base, you could be a second base, but a lot of progress was made.
Yes.
So let's take time to appreciate it, and home is right there. It's right there, the opportunity's right there, and you're not far from where you want to be. So, and just appreciating that position, because it's rarely done. You being where you are today compared to where it began, I know there was a huge journey throughout that, and that there was a process. Did you think you'd be here in this time frame? 4 years.
Yes and no. I say no because I think when I said the last interview, they just gonna be waiting for me when I touch down. I thought stuff was just gonna pop as soon as I touched down. But it didn't happen that way. I had to go through certain things and persevere through it. So I think that's the no aspect, on top of me sometimes being hard on myself, knowing I'm super ill and I listen to certain things. No, man, if I was being in that position or had that spotlight, so that's something that I'm still dealing with. I'm not 100% perfect. But also, yes, when it comes to like the timing of everything. Right. And I even said that at the end of the play during the talk back. I'd be lying if I said I'm surprised, because you get whatever it is that you pray for. Is how you're going to respond to it once you get it. But put the work in. I'm not an overnight success type of dude. Like I kept my feet on the ground, so this is only a reflection of the sweat equity.
This is dedication and to go into what we're talking about, transparency to play. You asking me to host it,
yes,
and me appreciating that goes into what I was saying. It's like when I introduced the play, it's like this is what hard work and dedication looks like,
right?
Because I saw it.
Absolutely.
I don't gotta pretend. I don't gotta read the book. I saw it.
Right.
You were there. I remember having this conversation with you, and now you're inviting me to host a play in Hollywood.
Right. You know what, bro? I never really like how you break it down like that. You 100%. Right. That is different. That is different.
Oh, all right.
Not a play. Like, my play. Like yo,
your
bro.
Play.
If you could come out
your
here.
Play. The play that you wrote.
Yes.
And curated.
Yes.
I mean, it was a privilege, and at the time I felt like I couldn't make it. There was a lot of things happening.
Right.
I just recently moved. There's a lot going on, but when I was able to do it,
right,
and I knew I was able to do it, and I booked that flight, it felt so great. But it didn't feel no better than the end of the second show when it was over, and I just felt accomplished.
Yes.
You know, it just made everything make sense. I thought back on our initial conversation, and the fact that we're having this conversation now, it means so much because I sat there and I had a chance to reflect. And it's been a couple of years since I've been in front of, you know, crowds and speaking in public situations, and I haven't done the pod because the last time I was out here, not the last time, but the time before last,
right,
I had the situation where my car was broken into. Right. They took all my podcast equipment, and I thought that was a sign. Right. I thought that was a sign to stop. I thought that was a sign to slow down because a lot of my personal things weren't dealt with, and I was too busy concentrating on how to continue to create. But let's be honest, when you continue to sweep all the dirt under the carpet, all you do is make a lump under the carpet.
Right.
You're not cleaning shit.
That lemon, that old lemon. You said that before. It's like that lemon in the fridge. It's like that.
It's that lemon in the fridge that you see that lemon. You know that lemon old, but you just don't throw it out.
Right.
And until you throw that lemon out, your refrigerator can never be what it's supposed to be, or you can never be what you're supposed to be until certain things are dealt with. And the space I'm in is beautiful. The timing is beautiful, and transparency to play. Please tell me how it came about. Please tell me how you wrote, because there was so many different facets of it, right? Because when I think of transparency, based on what I went through, I automatically think just being vulnerable about things that you're not necessarily usually vulnerable about.
Right.
And I guess I had an idea of what that looked like.
Right. Oh, you talking about prior to seeing the play?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess I had an idea of what that looked like, and then when I saw the play, it kind of opened my mind and opened my brain to how many different facets of it could be.
Exactly.
And I was fascinated by it. And I don't use that word lightly.
Right.
Fascinated by it.
Right.
And I want you to deep dive. I want you to go into your bag. Tell me how the origin. Tell me everything.
No, absolutely. So, transparency, the thought of it, I remember even practicing it at Chef John crib when the idea first sprouted. But it was at a time when I was just looking at my past relationships and thinking, did we ever really know each other? Or did we just introduce the highlights of each other and kind of grew to the familiarity as opposed to each blemish in our body? Like, did we only present the highlights? Okay, you from that area, I'm from that area. You like to laugh, I like to laugh. I'm a funny guy, oh ha ha. And you kind of build off of that. But then my mind started wondering what it could have looked like, a very transparent conversation on the first date. But then what could that look like for someone who's not over their ex? Or someone who's been in an interracial relationship and it turned to the demise? Or like a single parent. My mind just started bouncing, and I remember just practicing over there in that booth at the apartment supper club, like, all right, cool, this is what it could look like. And I kind of put it on Do Not Disturb a little bit because that's when I had that creative crossroad. Eventually moved out west, and I was like, you didn't come out here to chill. Okay, you Chef Beanz, but what other chef aesthetic do you have besides your hat? You need to get some type of booth, a restaurant chair. That's something you can move around. Facebook Marketplace, spent $30, got it. That same booth is the same one that was in the play. And everything I was putting on social media was off of that investment. I think I only had $60 at the time. Put like 20 towards the U-Haul, the other 20 to go into the tank, or however, and the other 20 to buy the booth. It was something like that. But I was like, I need some type of aesthetic. So when it came to the plane to see that it was received, I knew exactly that people were walking into a punch. It's that thing you didn't know you needed until you walked into it, because it led people to be reflective and back to intentional consumption. This is the type of content that people need to consume because it forces you to be reflective. It's kind of like feeding a baby. Sometimes you can't just go like this. You gotta do the
Right,
that's what I do with my content.
It's the medicine in the candy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what Transparency, the play was. So to have you out here, I tell you all the time, that interview back in 2018 was still hands down one of the best interviews I've been on, because naturally you have it. Like it's something you can't teach a person to do. So it's like being in places and just knowing that I'm just happy that I have these type of talented people around me. So it was an honor and pleasure to have you host, because it's like, these are my people, and I know that we gonna be good regardless. There's no opening. I think people, you said, when I get in, I'm gonna open the back door. Now we gonna open the front door and be announced, and these are my people, and regardless to whatever you said, whatever school you went to, you got these studies, you still gotta stand next to me.
Yeah.
Your work still has to speak for itself, regardless of anything. So I think that's what it was a reflection of, and just keeping my feet on the ground while also knowing that the sky is the limit. The sky isn't the limit.
It isn't. I love that, man. And it's a clear result of resilience, because the road isn't easy. And a lot of people like to have these pissing masters where they like to compare their struggle to others. Struggle is struggle.
Right.
Right? And how we persevere is the only thing that matters.
Yes.
How do you look on the other side of the struggle? And it looked pretty good.
Yo,
because what you tell them, yesterday's price
is not today's price.
That's a beautiful thing, man. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm proud of you, man. And I think that you are an example of, like I said, man, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's super important, because desire is so rare. People don't want anything anymore.
Right.
Or they want the minimum.
Yes.
They nothing, like, they don't really want anything.
The low hanging fruit, they want what's convenient.
What's convenient. And I have to be honest, like, I'm great at giving advice, but I'm hard at taking my own advice.
Okay, that's all.
And I'm in the process of really fixing that, because I tell people all the time that growth is uncomfortable, and you have to be uncomfortable to grow.
Right.
And a lot of people, when they get into uncomfortable places, they kind of and that's when you're supposed to be yourself.
Yeah,
that's
they straight.
That's when you're supposed to really show who you are, because in those moments is what dictates, like, the outcome of this whole thing. So just to show who you are, man, to show the resilience, bro, it's just an amazing thing. And we out here in LA, it's beautiful.
Bro.
It's February, bro.
Yeah.
And I wore a sweater to your second show for no reason.
Right.
I'm like, yo, because it's February, I'm packed up like, that East Coast vibe.
Yeah.
And I come out here and it's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. Y'all got a good thing going. You got a good thing going out here.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's a reflection of what already existed in my mind. And literally, when I see things crystal clear, you can't tell me that I don't see it. A lot of people are, one of the illest things that I heard at the end of the play, a woman walked up to me and she said, I went to school for this, I went to school for that, got my master's in this, I work at this type of job, and I still haven't done X, Y, Z. I've always wanted to do a play, even though I have my master's and everything in it. You literally give yourself permission to do whatever you want. And I think that's interesting, because yes, she was spot on, but there's so many people who are waiting for permission or to be validated externally. They need that to, like, is it cool? You sure it's cool to cross the street?
Do it. You might not do it, but I'm gonna do it. And I hope I'm not here to offend anyone.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, yeah, you can have these credentials. Yeah, you could have went to this school, as you stated, and do these different things. But if you can come here in 4 years and just make it happen, don't tell me anything, because you could have did it too.
Right, exactly.
So don't tell me anything. Don't tell me I skipped steps or I jumped ropes. None of that.
Right.
I bust my ass and we're here.
Yes.
And when we're here, and it's no knock to anybody, because it's enough food for everybody.
Exactly. I don't want anything from anybody's plate. But like you said, been out here 4 years, stayed locked in.
It's just a difference with certain people when they're back against the wall. certain people react differently. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Some people they rely on that wall for support, and other people get the fuck off that wall and create their own.
Exactly, and you know, on top of that, sometimes your success can be a trigger to someone else's insecurities.
Oh, man.
I think that's the
Not
kicker.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You talk about the majority of the time.
Yeah, and I think it was living in that to potentially have however much bread in my pocket, but to tell people, no, I know exactly who I am, and I'm also a people watcher, so I'm seeing how I'm being responded to now, to where you don't necessarily know who I am.
Right.
I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I understand that I may be enduring a character building situation, but I don't forget anything. So now, me really receiving the fruits of my labor is only things that I already knew was to come, but now the energy is a lot different from people now that we face to face.
Right.
It's like the cool guys ain't looking so cool no more when we're not walking into the room now.
You gotta talk to me
you can be dressed with whatever. I'm wearing sweats, kicks. People know the energy.
Some respect on my name.
That's what it is.
I love it. I love it. So, I'm being told I think we gotta wrap up pretty soon. But what's next? Wait, before what's next, I want you to give a fair shout out to the actors that was a part of the play, because, like I said, that play was brilliant.
Yes.
I hope that people get a chance to see it, get a chance to experience it.
They trust me, bro. They will.
I believe you.
Yes.
Look, I believe you. We've been here before. I believe you. But I definitely hope that people get a chance to experience Transparency, the play.
Yes.
And I just want you to have this opportunity to shout out some of the actors that was participating in it before we get to what's next for you.
No, absolutely. So we had Freddie Ramsey, Rashida Terry, Lala Milan, Joya Waku. We had Morgan Day. We had Kaylin Parrott. We had Ariel Brown. We had Jordan Hunter.
Heavy hitters.
Chris Lewis.
Heavy hitters.
Jennifer Rocket. Anthony Purnell. Mike Houston.
Shout out to everybody.
Yeah, and Munir
Griffin.
Munir Griffin on the sax. So it was a very talented cast.
Indeed,
and it's only going to continue to expand
grow.
Because there's so many, like the question that the person asked me, is there going to be the same Transparency each time? No, there's a lot of different examples of what Transparency could look like, but it's going to expound. What's next? I've been working on a web series in my head for the last 4 years, and even on my notebook. So as people are getting, very excited about the play and everything else, when that web series drops, that's going to make it more accessible for people all over the world, but they're just going to see more and more the storyteller that I've always known myself to be.
Right. That's fire, man. That's fire. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait for the web series.
Yes.
I can't wait for the plays in different cities.
Yes.
Because I know you announced that at the play.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't wait for what's next for me.
Yes.
Again, besides that Kanye doc, which I felt to be extremely inspiring.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if anybody saw it.
No.
Maybe they didn't see it the way I saw it, but as a creative, it just moved me.
Yeah, me too.
And then, like I said, the timing was insane because I'm getting over a lot of nonsense and I'm entering a real positive place in my life. And this event happened at the right time. Then I saw the doc, and it all makes sense. I had conversations with friends where it just made sense, and it just sparked something in me that should have been there already.
Yeah,
but life happens.
Yeah, the caliber. All right, so understand. I know you respect the caliber of creative and entrepreneur that I am. I know you respect that. Throughout my experience, I'm still telling you, you're still one of, if not the top person who's ever I've had a conversation with, interview since prior to coming to LA and being in LA. That's still solid. So just let me give you your flowers. Regardless of everything that's been popping off, that still serves truth. So I don't know why I'm called to tell you that right now on camera. You can document it, sign my name, whatever. But just know that that's real honest. I ran into the top, whatever. It's like cool, but just know that. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you may be experiencing, let me just give you that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
And like I said, man, I say it all the time. I've said it on the podcast in the past, and like I said, I'm trying to create this whole new vibe and this whole new wave. And life happens, but
absolutely,
you have to work through that. You have to position yourself and put yourself in position to win. And when you have a goal, and you put your head down and you stay consistent at it and you keep driving and you hit all them stops you said you was gonna hit.
Yep.
And then you hit your destination, don't let nobody tell you shit. You get it done.
Exactly.
And that's why we're here.
Every time.
That's why we're here. Yo, continue to be intentional.
Yes.
Yo, continue to be transparent.
Yes.
This is So I've Been Thinking the podcast and live life accordingly.
Smoked it. Smoked it. Smoked it.